Morning everybody, welcome to Monday. Hope you are doing okay. How was your weekend? Do share with me if you are joining live or if you are joining on the replay. Pop replay underneath the comments. It'd be lovely to know who is with me today live and who is watching on replay and watching something back. And if you're doing either of those things, thank you very much for joining me. Slightly disappointed this morning that I used a new publishing thing to schedule some posts on here, including the reminder that I would be going live at 11:45, and had a notification to say, sorry, it didn't work, which is really annoying because you know when you have this thing where you're like, that's going to save me a bit of time, fantastic. And then that thing that's supposed to save you a bit of time actually doesn't work. That is quite frustrating. So just wanted to talk to you today about what happens when you are in a toxic relationship and how that impacts not just on you whilst you're in the house, but how it impacts on lots of other areas of your life as well. So when I was in a toxic relationship, I didn't want to tell anybody, and I still don't know why I feel this way or felt this way, and I still don't know why so many people do, because in retrospect it makes absolutely no sense. But I felt incredibly ashamed that I was in this toxic relationship. I felt really like I was this strong and confident woman, and here I was in this situation which I never thought I'd be in for a million years. And because it had been so sort of steady in its decline, I just used to say, it will get better, it will change, this will happen, and you know, this will make the situation better, which of course it didn't. It slowly got worse. So for me, I felt immensely ashamed, but I mean, that doesn't even really make sense, does it? I know it's quite a common feeling, and I know some of my clients feel that way as well, but it's a bit mad to feel ashamed of somebody else treating you incredibly badly. So as a result of that, I still saw friends, but I put a smile on my face and just didn't really talk about very much about what was happening. If I did talk about it, I would gloss over it and not go into detail. With family, exactly the same, although I did start to tell my mum what was going on a little bit later on. But realistically, I withdrew. I was a character. I wasn't really Sarah anymore. And as a result of that, I completely lost my identity. My identity just completely did a 180 and walked out the door, really, because how can you be true to yourself when you're having to play this character who's not going through those problems, who's not going through those issues? So I felt very alone, incredibly isolated, like there was nobody that I could talk to. And the reality was I didn't really talk to anybody. There wasn't anybody who knew the detail. And for the most part, they still don't know everything that happened, and it's not something I feel that I need to talk about now. For me, it was about going to talk to a professional. It was going to talk to somebody who was on the periphery, who had, in hindsight, it would have been nice if the person I'd spoken to had been there, if they understood everything that I was going through. But for me, it wasn't until I could speak to somebody who was on the periphery of it that they could give me a new perspective on what had happened, that could help take away the element of blame and shame that I felt, and actually was able to be there 100% for me with no judgment, and what have you. And that is exactly what I'm offering to you. I am here not to judge. I am here as somebody who's been through a really difficult situation. Everybody has their own story. Nobody's two stories are the same, but I'm here to reassure you that I do know or can resonate some of the things that you are experiencing or have experienced. I understand completely what those feelings feel like, even when they're not terribly logical. I know the desperation and isolation that kind of came out of that. So I'm here not because I choose to do this kind of coaching because it feels like a good thing to do. I'm here because I've been there. I've been in your shoes. I've trodden that road. It's not going to be exactly the same road as you. It's not going to be exactly the same pair of shoes, but I promise you that there is so much that I can resonate with, because it will be quite similar to my story. The patterns will probably be the same. So what I'm really urging you to do is thinking about reaching out, because there is only so far that you can get dealing with it yourself. There is only so far that you can go with all your thoughts up here, and there is only so far that you can go without that guidance, without that support and what have you. So are you ready to take that next step? Are you ready to reach out and speak to somebody? I get that it's really scary, and sometimes I'll speak to somebody who then I won't speak to you for ages and ages and ages afterwards, and we'll just give them a bit of space, really. It happens quite a lot, and at first I used to get really upset about it. If I'd had and started a connection with somebody and then they sort of disappeared off, I'd be really upset that I thought we'd had a connection. What did I do? What was the issue? Was it something I said? And have now realised a little bit later down the line, it's nothing to do with that. It's to do with the fact that taking those steps is really, really awful. And scary and frightening, but I am here to absolutely hold your hand. So sometimes, you know, you go through these phases, but they take a little while to sort of tot up. So you have the first one where you think, shit, this is awful, what am I going to do? Then you have the, it's still awful, I'm doing the best I can by myself. Then you have the, it's still awful, but I need some help now. And that can sometimes make you withdraw a little bit, so that once you've realised that actually you need the help, it can then be quite scary to go, who am I going to ask? Who's going to help me? And can make you withdraw a bit. And then obviously when you reach out to somebody to have that conversation, then that's a bit scary and you're like, oh, I'm not sure if I'm ready for this. So there are all these different steps where the fear creeps in, but I promise you that I'm here. I'm absolutely here. And I understand that there will be steps where I don't hear from you for a bit because it's quite scary. Not for everybody, but for some people, you know, having taken that first step to know that they needed help all the way through to actually getting the help, that can be a scary thing. But I'm a really lovely, warm person. You are safe with me. There is no judgment. So if you are thinking about getting some help, I'm not saying book in and sign up. I'm saying have a conversation with me, have a chat with me, because I'm here for you. And I understand if you need a little bit of space in between those individual things as you explore the idea of talking to somebody about what you're experiencing. Lots of love to you. I will pop the wording up so that you've got something to go with this as well. And if you want to book a call, it can literally just be a call. My calendar link is on the wording as well. And it would be lovely just to have a chat with you. Take care. I will speak to you soon.